tell me about one of the other greatest accomplishments that you had.
Well, so I'll quickly move to this other fun story anyway. So I left that after 3 years. I needed to do something else. I went to the Michigan Credit Union League as a field consultant, working with credit unions, helping them with their daily operations, getting them material, getting resources for them, whether it was ours or outside. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. And after a couple of years, the president of the Minnesota League called the president of the Michigan League, which is this highly regarded league, and said, I need a number 2 guy, and who do you have? And so Al Charbonneau, the president of the Michigan League, said to Ron Maderi, I think you're going to like this guy, Dick Ensweiler. So I went over and interviewed, and I was hired. I went on board, and 2 weeks later, Ron Maderi says, Dick, the World Council of Credit Unions has offered me a position 2 years in Africa. I'm taking it. This place is yours. So here I am, 30 years old, been in management of a league for 2 weeks, and suddenly this guy's up and out of there. So anyway, so that was the start of my becoming a president of the league. I went from there to Illinois. Illinois was a phenomenal opportunity. It had a lot of work to do. We did a lot of work, but along the way, I got involved with IAMD, the International Association of Managing Directors, today called MICUH, and worked my way through the chairs. And between 1982 and 1984, I was the chairman of the IAMD. I say that because that also put me as an adjunct member of the CUNA board, the Credit Union National Association board. And it was at a CUNA board meeting in 1983 that some directors said to management, we need to get a credit union stamp. Next year is going to be the 50th anniversary of the Credit Union Act, Federal Act, and 50th anniversary of CUNA. And we need to tell the world, so let's get a credit union stamp. And so everybody said, that's a great idea. That really would spread the word about credit unions. So they said to management, get us a stamp. So the next board meeting, management came back and said, and by the way, CUNA was located and managed in Madison, Wisconsin at that time. They had a small Washington, D.C. legislative staff. So they said to the legislative staff, find out what it takes to get a stamp. So they came back the next month and said, well, we checked every source we know of. It's going to cost $200,000. And they said, $200,000? CUNA doesn't have $200,000 to spend on a stamp. They said, that can't be, that this doesn't sound right. All the organizations you see with stamps, they don't come up with $200,000. Try again. So they went back, tried again, came back and said, it's $200,000. And so they said, well, it's the heck with the stamp. We can't do it. And I was one of two. The guy by the name of Lou Pitch, who was a volunteer from Kenosha, Wisconsin, American Motors Credit Union. He was on that board. And we walked out in the hallway and we commiserated about how miserable it was that we couldn't do this, that there's no way to get a stamp. There has to be a way. So I thought about that some more and thought about that some more. And one day came up with a brilliant idea. There was a new member of the NCUA board. Her name was Elizabeth Flores Burkhart. She had just come in from Texas because the vice president of the United States at that time was George H.W. Bush, and she had worked for him, and he got her that position with NCUA. So I said, Elizabeth, and I knew her from a couple meetings. She was probably 6 months on the job. And I said, how would you like to make a name for yourself in this credit union business? She said, keep talking. So I told her the story about the stamp. And I said, there's just no way that should cost $200,000. There's got to be a way inside Washington to get a stamp done at a lot less cost than that. She said, Dick, now that's a challenge I like. I will get back to you. So about 10 days later, she called back and said, Dick, we've got a stamp. I said, whoa, really? How'd that happen? She said, we got a stamp. And I said, all right, let me ask the other question. How much is it going to cost? She said, it doesn't cost anything. We're going to have a stamp. And so we got a stamp. And so in 1984, on the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Credit Union Act, we had a session in a little meeting, a little gathering in Salem, Massachusetts, and all the big shots of the credit union movement, of course, wanted to be there at that time. And so I sat in the back of the room and kind of just knowingly smiled and said, we got a credit union stamp.
And Salem, Massachusetts, because that's where Ed Filene was born. You can see the full exhibit at the museum the next time you come to visit.